Hey guys, welcome to my channel Belle and Cosmos. I hope you all are doing well. So, the past few weeks have been very hectic, and this entire month is going to be quite a rough trip to pass. I have my exams this month starting from the 19th, and I'm juggling studies, projects, tests, and deadlines with no end in sight. That is why making new videos following my normal routine is a bit impossible at this moment. But I'm trying nevertheless, as I have decided not to give up. I hope you guys stick with me and um, and support me um, through this difficult month of mine. But I promise I'll come back with better videos and book reviews and recommendations soon. So, today's video is a book haul of all the books I purchased in the last week of January. They arrived towards the beginning of February, which is why I'm making this video a little more than a week later. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. So, the first book I have with me today is Audition by Ryu Murakami. I hope I didn't butcher that name. If I did, please forgive me. So, whenever I looked up Japanese authors on the internet, Ryu Murakami's name popped up in literally every list I found. Okay, so I'm in love with books translated from Japanese to English, which is why I picked this book up, and also, once more, Kim Namjoon of BTS had recommended a book by Ryu Murakami called Almost Transparent Blue. But before I had a mind to buy that, I wanted to try out something crazy by him. So, Audition is kind of a psycho thriller. So, I have been reading this book for the past few days, and therefore I know just a small portion of the story as of yet. We have a protagonist whose name is Aoyama, and he's a documentary maker. So, Aoyama's wife passes away, and 7 years later, he and his son, Shige, are trying to cope up with the loss, and they are not yet over the death of Aoyama's wife, Ryoko. And that is when one fine afternoon, Shige tells his father, he kind of proposes this idea to him that he should consider remarrying, which is when Aoyama considers the option and goes to his friend Yoshikawa and tells him that he has considered remarrying. And Yoshikawa hatches a plan with Aoyama that they should hold an audition for a fake film. Fake film, as in like a film which is not going to be made, but Aoyama gets to specify the qualities he wants in a woman, and he would find his wife by specifying those qualities in the requirements for the audition. And the woman has to be trained in any classical background like ballet or piano or music in general. So this is how they end up with almost, I mean, many, like hundreds and hundreds of audition applications. So yeah, and also he has asked the women to submit an essay on their backgrounds, which is kind of tricky, but here's where it starts. It all starts because the fact is that Aoyama wants to marry the woman whose application will touch his heart the most. And he's a 42-year-old man. And there, in this process, they end up picking a woman who actually has, becomes Aoyama's kind of an obsession. Her name is Yamasaki Asami, and she is 24. Aoyama is thrilled to have found his perfect match after a long process of trials and errors, but there's his friend Yoshikawa. He's very cynical, truth be told. That's why Yoshikawa finds out every detail about that girl before Aoyama proceeds with Yamasaki Asami. Um, While he's looking up the details behind Yamasaki Asami, he finds out things about her that don't quite add up. She is claiming to be someone she is not, and even though the signs are very clear that she's faking to be someone she isn't, Aoyama, who is blinded by love for her, ignores it all and free falls into her arms, alright? And things start to get tricky afterwards, and unfortunately, I haven't read any further to be able to tell you what's gonna happen. So far, so good is all I can say. The book promised suspense and tension, and it is serving it all just right as of yet. Let's see what happens when I read further and finish the book. I am rooting for it because I know this book is probably a very good thriller, which I want right now. So, the next book on the list is called Revenge by Yoko Ogawa, and it's another Japanese thriller or horror book. As I said, I love Japan. That's why I keep on buying books from Japan. And you can say my love for Japan is because I get to see various small, portions of Japan through the books I read. Their a sneak peek at their culture and stuff. And this book is I think my seventh Japanese author on my shelf. I don't exactly remember how many Japanese authors I have on my shelf, but yeah, I found it interesting. And as I said, around the time I bought these books, I was very much into thriller, which is why I picked up Audition in the first place. And I really wanted to read something which would give me the creeps, and this seemed right. Since I have not yet read this book, here's a small blurb that goes like this. Sinister forces draw together a cast of desperate characters in this eerie and absorbing novel from Yoko Ogawa. An aspiring writer moves into a new apartment and discovers that her landlady has murdered her husband. Years later, the writer's stepson reflects upon his stepmother and the strange stories she used to tell him. Meanwhile, a surgeon's lover vows to kill him if he does not leave his wife, before she can follow through on her crime of passion. Though the surgeon comes across another remarkable woman, a cabaret singer whose heart beats delicately outside of her body. But when the surgeon promises to repair her condition, he sparks the jealousy of another man who would like to preserve the heart in a custom tailored bag. Murderers and mourners, mothers and children, lovers and innocent bystanders, their fates converge in a darkly beautiful web that they are each powerless to escape. Macabre, fiendishly clever, and with a touch of the supernatural, Yoko Ogawa's Revenge creates a haunting tapestry of death and the afterlife of the living. When I picked this book up, I was told that Yoko Ogawa was the female version of Haruki Murakami. And if you have watched my previous videos, you know I am in love with Haruki Murakami. And anything that substitutes Haruki Murakami is instantly a favorite. That was the main reason why I picked this book up, because I had like extremely high hopes for it. I still have those high hopes. I hope this one really works out to my taste. Moving on to the next book. So, the next book is a book which I had talked about in one of my previous videos, and it is very close to my heart. It is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. When I had talked about this book in my last video, I had said that I had fallen in love with The Phantom of the Opera, the musical, in 2020, after which I obsessively read every article on The Phantom of the Opera, and I even finished reading this book as an ebook last year, after which I fell so much in love with it that I had to get hold of this book. And that is the main reason why I ordered it this year. So you can say that I have read this book, but I again ordered it because I wanted a copy of it with me all the time, like all the time. That is exactly how much I love this book. And this book talks about this masked genius whose name is Eric. He lives in the cellars of the Paris Opera House. He is called the Phantom of the Opera because he has very scary features. He doesn't look like a normal human being. because he was, born like that. His face was deformed from birth, which is why he's called the Phantom of the Opera. And he hides in the shadows of the cellars of the Paris Opera House. And meanwhile, there's this girl called Christine Daae, who is a soprano, and Eric falls in love with Christine's voice at first, and then he pretends to be Christine's angel of music. And Christine, being very naive and innocent, she accepts that he is her angel of music, sent by her father from heaven. That is why she starts training under him as a singer. And slowly, Eric falls in love with Christine. So, when Christine debuts as a soprano in front of the audience at the Paris Opera House, she meets her childhood friend whose name is Raoul Vicomte de Chauny, and the two of them strike up a conversation about their childhood, how they used to play around the village, and Christine's dad, who was a violinist, and he used to play the violin, and they used to listen to it. They used to tell each other stories, and they basically share what they did in their childhood. And soon they fall in love with each other, which makes Eric very jealous. And after that begins the story of the Phantom of the Opera, when Eric is hell bent on making Raoul pay for stealing Christine from him. And this is a very good story, and I would not like to spoil it for the people who haven't read it yet. I prefer you go and pick it up. If you like classics and if you like translated books, you can go for it, because this one was originally written in French, from which it was translated to English. And it is loved by many people around the world. And yeah, so moving on to the next book. The next book is Wicked by Gregory Maguire. Some of you may know that this book is actually a very famous musical on Broadway, and the lead role of Elphaba was played by Adina Menzel, who is one of my favorite singers. So the blurb of the book goes like this. When Dorothy triumphed over the Wicked Witch of the West in L. Frank Baum's classic tale, we heard only her side of the story. But what about her arch nemesis, the mysterious witch? Where did she come from? How did she become so wicked? And what is the true nature of evil? Gregory Maguire creates a fantasy world so rich and vivid that we will never look at Oz the same way again. Wicked is about a land where animals talk and strive to be treated like first-class citizens. Munchkinlanders seek the comfort of middle-class stability, and the Tin Man becomes a victim of domestic violence. And then there is the little green-skinned girl named Elphaba, who will grow up to become the infamous Wicked Witch of the West, a smart, prickly, and misunderstood creature who challenges all our preconceived notions about the nature of good and evil. An astonishingly rich recreation of the land of Oz, this book retells the story of Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, who wasn't so wicked after all, taking readers past the yellow brick road into the phantasmagoric world rich with imagination and allegory. Gregory Maguire just might change the reputation of one of the most sinister characters in literature. Okay, the main reason why I picked this book up was because I am in love with the musical, and I keep on listening to the songs in the production, and people have said that the book is very different from what is in the musical. That is the main reason why I picked this up, because I was very intrigued that how can the two things be different. I hope this turns out to be a very good read. So moving on to the next book. So the next book on the list is Damian by Hermann Hesse. So the book was first recommended to me once again, by Kim Namjoon of BTS. By now, you guys probably know that I'm a huge ARMY, and BTS's Kim Namjoon is kind of an inspiration. So whatever he reads, I pick that book up blindly, because I know this man is kind of like the most artistic man I have seen in my life. So Namjoon has suggested a long list of books, and I'm making my way through the list slowly and steadily. So that is the reason why I picked this book up. Well, I don't know what this talks about, so let's go through the blurb for once. So this is the blurb. First published in 1919, it is a brilliant journey of the psyche written by one of Germany's most influential writers and thinkers, Hermann Hesse. A young man awakens to selfhood and to a world of possibilities beyond the conventions of his upbringing. Emil Sinclair is a quiet boy drawn into a forbidden yet seductive realm of petty crime and defiance. His, gu- his guide is his precocious, mysterious classmate Max Damian, who provokes in Emil a search for self discovery and spiritual fulfillment. Damien is a classic coming of age story that continues to inspire generations of readers in its exploration of good and evil, morality, and self discovery. Okay, I am pretty pumped to read this because it sounds so much like the music video Blood, Sweat, and Tears by BTS. For those who don't know or those who are not armies, Blood, Sweat, and Tears by BTS was that music video which was like their breakthrough music video worldwide, and it still is one of the most famous BTS music videos. And there, Kim Namjoon has captures the story of Damien in their music video very artistically. For those of you who have read this book, you can just go and watch the video on YouTube. You just have to search up Blood, Sweat, and Tears by BTS, and yeah, I think you'll love that video because that video made me fall in love with BTS, and that video made many other armies around the world fall in love with BTS. So, yeah, moving on to the next and the last book in the list. So, the last book is Haunted Nights, which is a collection of horror stories, and the blurb of the book goes like this: Halloween is the night the monsters come out to play. Long before its traditions became defined by mass produced masks, blood soaked horror films, and carved pumpkins, the murky origins of All Hallows Eve lay rooted in dark festivals and black magic, in old fables of diabolical tricksters and murderous pranks, in tales of cursed souls lost in purgatory of vengeance and changelings. From sly modern narratives to haunting traditional stories, from the brutal to the experimental, these 16 stories brilliantly and terrifyingly explore the many facets, cultures, and traditions of our most provocative holiday. I'm an Indian and we don't have Halloween in India. Not that I've heard of any. But just because I like reading scary stories, I picked this book up. Hopefully, I love reading it. So, yeah, this is here we come to the end of this video. I hope you give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon and share this video with other bookworms. And do let me know if you have read any of the books mentioned in the video down in the comment section. Lots of love from me to you. See you in the next one. Bye bye.